Hello friends, welcome to your only channel Times of Coding. Today in our Scala Express series we will learn object-oriented aspects and how to define abstract classes and factory objects in Scala language. In previous session we have covered Scala namespaces, how to rectify code smell in Scala polymorphism, and we learn how to define member functions with final keyword. In this session we will focus on composition relation, inheritance relation, how to define abstract classes, and how to define factory objects. So far, while implementing classes, we have seen inheritance and composition relationship. It's basically establish a relation like is a relationship of the inheritance. And when it comes to composition, the relation which gets implied by a composition relation is has a relationship. So this is a snapshot from our previous session where we have defined factory abstract class. In that factory abstract class, I'm defining two member function as raw material and material count. This function will be a type of array of string, and here we are calculating the length of raw material. Then I'm defining one subclass called Kingfisher factory. In this, we are having parameter called raw material, and then we are extending the same Kingfisher factory class with factory. So technically, Kingfisher factory is a type of factory. And Kingfisher factory has a type of array of string object. So this is what is a and has a relationship based inheritance and composition relation. So moving on, what if we don't want to expose complete definition of our classes members to subclasses or maybe the users? So that we will see now by defining factory object. So now I'm defining one of the factory class which is having member function as required raw material as variable, and this raw material is having a type of array of string, and here we are storing the parameter value which we have got in this parameter of beer factory class. Since this is an abstract class, so when we are inheriting this class we need to pass the same parameterized value from our call that we will see maybe later in this session. So now I'm defining another method called materials count, and similarly it is calculating the length as we have seen earlier, and then we are defining can start production. So this can start production will be a boolean type, and this will give us true or false if it matches with our prerequisite to start the production of this beer factory. So first condition is material count has to be 4, and these material counts, whatever we have passed here, they should have available materials contains all the required material counts. That means this is the condition where we are checking whatever information we will store here as a raw material, they should present in the available material. If available material here contains all the material which has been defined in required raw material, then we can get true out of this function. Otherwise it will be false. And then we are having get required materials in order to know what are the materials required. So this will be presenting information to us as a string form. So now after defining factory class, we will define the factory object. So here I am focusing more on the definition part and then on the calling side. This is how we need to call. Here I'm defining two methods called get beer factory and get beer factory, but with different parameters, here with raw material and then here with message also have included. Both the functions will return the same kind of object, beer factory, and then we will create Kingfisher factory object and then Kingfisher ultra object. So here I'm getting Kingfisher ultra object with two arguments. First is raw material, which we have defined in these classes constructor that we will see later now. And these two methods are having default access modifier, so anybody can use them. Now moving on, we will have a look on these classes definition also. So here Kingfisher factory is just having one parameter and Kingfisher ultra is having two parameters. Since we are extending beer factory and beer factory also expect one parameter in their constructor call, so we are passing the same argument here. And then in case of Kingfisher ultra we have given message also. And likewise, if we give it a call to its extended class, we don't need to give any message. That message we have actually taken to keep as a debug messages for our information purpose. And then the same two methods which we have seen earlier also. So that's how we define the factory object. Factory object will be having one of the class or one of the abstract class. Let me be explicitly transparent here, or we need an abstract class to give them the common interest definition of members function, and then we need to have one object as beer factory, which will have simply the implementation of all the subclasses which we required in order to execute our business logic, and its supportive or creative functions here. So this is about the class definition. Now we will see how to instantiate object from its method. I'm keeping a call for this beer factory object, and this beer factory object will get us the access for get beer factory function like here. And here we are using polymorphism because this function name is same, but it is having difference in number of parameters. And this type of polymorphism we see overloading. In our previous session, the example which we have seen was overriding. Here we are having overloading. If both the functions exist in same class or same object, that means it is overloading here. If we are having same function inheriting from different classes, and these different classes comes in a class hierarchy as parent and child, in that case it is a polymorphism of override type. So here it is basically a overloading type. In order to get the object, we need to keep the parameters here. So first we are keeping array of string type. So in this string type, I'm passing 4 arguments here: water, barley malt, hops, and yeast. And in this call, we are keeping one message also as kingfisher. Both the object invocations will get us one object. This object we are storing as beer factory unit, and this object we are storing as KF unit. So as per our class definition, when we create this object with this set of argument, it will goes to the required material. So water, barley malt, hops, and yeast will go into the required material variable. And when we call a function to check whether we can start production or not, we are passing these argument. Since these are the available raw material we are passing, with this condition it will not start the factory because beer factory required 4 of the ingredients, and here we are keeping 3. So this call should get us false. And here we are keeping 4, and here also we are keeping 4 exact same raw material. So this factory should get us true to start the production from this method. And similarly, if we are interested to know what are the material required to start the factory for KF factory unit, here is the list of material, and we can get it by get required materials. Let me give you another view of our functions. So here we have defined 2 functions actually. And this one will check whether we can met the available material with required material list or not. And then we are having required material list. So if we are not meeting up this requirement, at least we should know what are the materials is required to start the production. So far in theory, we have covered today content, and now it's time to do some practical. So after opening IntelliJ, we will create one Scala class today as factory, because the first example which we have seen earlier today is factory abstract class and kingfisher factory definition. So here I'm creating factory Scala classes. Now I'll make this class as abstract. So here our class is ready, and now see, we have not returned any object or any main method. That's why we are not getting the run option in IntelliJ. If we by mistake write any compile time error statements, this IDE will highlight that text as a red underline. So we will come to know. So far we are good. After this example, we have seen the beer factory example. So I'll define another class as beer factory now. Okay, and this class also we need to make it abstract. So here we are defining beer factory class. In primary constructor, I'm defining one parameter, and member functions likewise for required raw material count and material count, which will give us the length of this raw material count. That means it is an array type, so we will come to know how many elements it's inside. And then we are having one condition to check whether we can start production or not. To start the production, we are having material counts is equal to 4 condition, and required material should be available in available material collection. And then we are having get required materials also. and these three methods are public, so we can access them easily from outside. So now we will define factory object. I'm defining one factory object, and this object is sharing same name as the abstract class object. And here we are keeping two classes. First class is Kingfisher factory, which is extending the beer factory. And since in beer factory we are having one parameter defined in primary constructor, so we are passing the same material which we are expecting here in this Kingfisher factory. And likewise, I'm creating one more factory called Kingfisher Ultra, and here also we are keeping extension to this class. So we are inheriting Kingfisher factory class here, and we are passing its primary constructor. Now the message which we are expecting here, while creation of this class object, we are keeping one message, and now we are defining these two methods to get these two classes object. If you see, Kingfisher factory for one and Kingfisher Ultra for one. Since it is expecting message, so we are expecting message in this method call also. If you notice here, in this factory object, everything will be private except the functions which supposed to get called from outside. So now we will see how to create object of these two classes by using these two methods. So first we need to create the main method, and then we will define two objects. One as beer factory unit, where we are calling get factory method with just array of a string. So this is the argument we are keeping as array, and then we are calling same method with array of a string and message. So this statement will call this method, and from both we will get one object for Kingfisher factory and one object for Kingfisher Ultra here. The next thing which we have done, we have checked if we can start production with these two factories. So first I'll call beer factory can start production here, and in this I will keep argument lesser 1. Instead of 4, I'm just keeping 3, and in that case this statement should get us false. Now I will run it and we will see the outcome. Okay, we are getting as expected false. And Kingfisher factory is coming from the constructor of Kingfisher Ultra class. So here if you see, Kingfisher Ultra class is having println, that's why we are getting their Kingfisher. Okay, so now we will call it the next object with its required argument, and we will give the positive case call here. So I will call the can start production, and in this I will keep it all of the 4 arguments so that it should get us true. Now we will see this execution result. Okay, and as expected we are getting true. Now since we know this beer factory unit cannot start production, so now we can retrieve what are the required materials to start the production. In order to get that, we are having one method called get required materials here. So if you see, this method we have defined here, which is supposed to get us all the required materials information. So now I will run it and see, this is coming from earlier statements, and here it is giving us water, barley malt, hops and yeast is required in order to start the factory. So since in this example we were getting this call, we will add the missing item now as barley malt, and then we will run it again. If you see, in both the instance we have got true, that means we can start the production. Now with this example we have covered today content. So today we have discussed composition relation, inheritance relation, how to define abstract classes, and how to work with factory objects. I hope you like my video today. You can like, subscribe, comment and share with your friends and colleagues to share this knowledge. Thank you. Have a good day.